Alrighty, folks, so we're going to get started in about 2 more minutes. I still have a few names from the previous session that are in this chat. If you want to move on to another session, I'm going to put the link to go to the other breakout rooms right here in the chat. And that's also going to be the link later on to submit any products that you'd like to submit to the discussion boards. So that's the link to the breakout sessions. We're going to get started in 1 minute at 10:30. Whoops, good morning, everybody. I was still on mute. How's everyone doing today? My name's Annette Estival Perez. I'm going to be your presenter today for your breakout session on how to make a simple game with the iPad using Keynote. If you happen to have an iPad with you, awesome. You will probably want to use that today so you can try to do some of the things I'm going to show you. If you don't have an iPad, that is 100% okay. You do have an alternative. I would highly encourage people to go ahead and go to iCloud.com. I'm going to type that in the chat. So again, if you don't have an iPad or you don't have the Keynote app on your iPad, I would personally recommend using iCloud.com. It's kind of like a Google Drive. It has a web-based version of Keynote and Pages. Okay. One other thing I'm going to ask is if you happen to have your webcam on, if you don't mind turning it off, I'm going to turn off mine in a little bit just so that we don't waste the bandwidth. Things get a little bit slow, especially this time of day. Not that that's never happened to you guys before in class. But we're going to go ahead and get this show started. Oh, we still have people coming in, so I'm going to be admitting them. Okay, so if you haven't already gotten today's presentation, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that into the link, unless one of my fabulous helpers does that before I do. Okay, and as I said earlier, my name's Annette Estival Perez. That link that I just posted, that's a link to the presentation I'm going to be using today. Pretty much every single resource that I mention, that I talk about, everything is linked onto that presentation. So I highly recommend that you save it to your Google Drive. Normally I would tell people make a copy, but I wouldn't make a copy of this particular one is because I will probably add a few more things after today's breakout session because I have a feeling you guys are going to give me some ideas of things to add to the slide. So this is kind of a living document. So if you save this as a living document, you'll always have the most up-to-date one in your Google Drive. So as I mentioned earlier, my name's Annette. I work for the instructional systems team here at OCPS. I'm relatively new to the department. I started in late October. Before that, I was a reading coach at a middle school. I've always worked with middle school and secondary, but my background is in intensive reading. I also have a master's in ESOL, so I'm very familiar with those populations. So even though I don't have a lot of experience with elementary, I do teach a lot of things that you guys have had to teach in your classrooms, particularly with literacy skills. And I'm not gonna lie, I did teach first grade for a few months in Korea, but that was a totally different thing. So that was my big elementary experience. I'm also gonna introduce Dan. He's our Apple specialist or Apple senior specialist. I keep inventing weird titles for you, Dan, but you're the Apple man. Okay, I'm sure many of you have seen Dan before at our other DCTL breakout sessions. And then we also have Jamelia Smith. She's in the chat as well. And both of them are definitely going to be answering a lot of questions today that you guys may have. Obviously, anything Apple related, I'm going to throw it at Dan because he's our guru. So Dan, do you want to jump on and say hi?
Sure, thanks, Annette. Hey, everybody, see some familiar names in here. Again, if you don't know who I am or what or I was going to say what I am in terms of how I can help you in the district is I'm the Apple Professional Learning Specialist for your district. I've been working with Orange County since September of 2019. But again, like Annette said, I'm here to help you do anything that you want to do with these iPads, whether it's plan a lesson, if you want me to join your PLC groups when you have those and kind of just sit in, or we can do lesson planning together. We can come up with cool experiences for students with these. I'm a former teacher, taught middle school for 11 years before I was a media specialist and technology coach coordinator before I moved over to Apple. So I always have my teaching hat on, and I would love to help you out if you have any questions. And this session is awesome, and I put this together, and it's super cool. All the stuff that you can do with Keynote. Before I go on mute, if you have any questions, if you have any questions about, like, I'm trying to open this app, but it's just not opening, or it's asking me for some Apple ID, or because I'm already seeing these pop up in the chat, I will contact you through DM, but just know it's not supposed to ask you for an Apple ID. There's something that we need to reconfigure and fix, but not to worry, we will do that. So if those types of questions pop up, ask me and I'll help you out, okay? Other than that, happy to be here and looking forward to this session.
Awesome. And one thing I wanted to add, Dan, is that if they're asking about an Apple ID, it could be also that they might be trying to use iCloud. If for whatever reason you don't have an iPad, I earlier recommended to use the website iCloud.com. I'm going to put that again in the chat. If you go to iCloud, it is going to ask you to log in. You're going to need an Apple ID. If you don't have one from, let's say your cell phone or your personal Apple device, you can just make one up. It is free and very easy to use, but it has a web-based version of Keynote, which is what we're going to be using today in this presentation. But if you have an iPad, it'd be great if you could use that iPad because the web-based version of Keynote is a little bit different. It's much more simple versus the real Keynote that's on the iPad has all the fun stuff, which is what we're here to learn today, is fun stuff. So just putting that out there. So we're going to go ahead and move on. I have a couple of learning objectives for you guys today. I don't want to make this like a big to-do here, but the goal when you leave today, I hope that you are able to make at least a very basic presentation. I'm not expecting, you know, fireworks or anything like that. But the goal today is to make a very simple game, a simple presentation using Keynote, which is the default presentation app on your iPad. Your presentation at the very minimum should have at least 3 slides to be able to do any of the skills that I'm going to show you today. And I want you to try at least 3 of the things that I show you. I'm going to show you 6 things. I just want you to try 3. If you try 3, you're going to look like $1,000,000, I promise. And then you're going to try to submit that onto our discussion board on Canvas. Okay. The purpose of the discussion board, it's not to grade you or anything like that or pass judgment. I know that sometimes we feel like we're being judged in education. No, it is really just to kind of share ideas and share resources. I've heard of a lot of really cool ideas in our previous session that people had with how they could use some of the things I was showing them. And if you are able to put some of those ideas out there into the universe, you are going to definitely help out some fellow colleagues of yours. So that's what this is about. It's all about sharing and love and all that. Nothing crazy, I promise. No one's judging or grading you. Because someone earlier was like, I don't know if my presentation's pretty. Like, no one cares. Don't worry about that. Okay, it's just, did you learn some cool skills that you can take back with you? Because all of you are experts in your content areas. You're all experts in, you know, all the academic stuff. This is just to teach you the technology piece. So, you know, pretty comes with time. So don't worry about that. Okay, don't let that be a big concern. And as an added bonus, and to make today's session a little bit more interesting, if you ask a fun question, I am couriering a tiny goodie bag, not this entire bag of Jolly Ranchers, but a cool little Valentine's Day goodie bag with yummy Jolly Ranchers inside. And I chose Jolly Ranchers because hopefully they won't melt in the courier. But, you know, these days it's very cold. So keep asking questions. If you ask a particularly fun one, I'm writing down your name and I'm couriering candy to you. And I think I've just invented a word. Couriering, I don't think is a real word. And if you post a fun game, okay, to our Canvas discussion board, I have a grand prize. I don't know what we'll call this. It is a very random prize. For those of you that are fans of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or if you just remember the show from the 80s, 90s, and today, because there's a new version, I have a cool Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pin and a matching miniature tiki cup of the bad guy, of Shredder, which is the perfect size for my pen. It's very cute. So that is the grand prize. If you submit a cool presentation, I'm going to choose a winner and they will get Ninja Turtle pin and bad guy cup, suitable for putting a pen at work. I'm sure you could use it for something else at home. All right, and someone in the chat's asking, can you send the link for the online version of Keynote again? Yes, so you're just going to go to iCloud.com. So iCloud.com, that's the web-based version. So yeah, if you don't have an iPad with you, don't worry. If you go to that website, iCloud.com, you can log in. You will need to create an Apple ID if you don't already have one. If you happen to have an iPhone, you should have one. You can just log in. And it does have a web-based version of Keynote. Like I said earlier, it's like a very basic version. So it's not going to have all the bells and whistles, but it'll at least show you some of the things that we're going to do today. Okay, so you can do the basics. Other thing I want to mention is that obviously the online version of that Keynote does look different, and I anticipated that. So towards the end of this presentation that I'm sharing with you, my Google Slides presentation, I have kind of like a visual guide with pictures and everything of how to do everything I'm showing you today on the iPad and how to do everything on Keynote, on iCloud if it looks a little bit different. So just be aware. And that's it. So we're going to move on. And again, if you have any questions, especially crazy questions, please ask them in the chat. Dan and Jamelia and myself, we are going to try to get to them. And of course, fun questions, I'm going to lure you in with candy. So ask away, please, please, please. Shameless plug. Okay, so why are we going to use Keynote? Thank you, Dan. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Keynote, if you've used PowerPoint, if you've used Google Slides, it is very similar. It is a very, very, very similar program. What makes it special, though, is if you use it on an iPad, you have all these really cool features that none of those other programs have. And that's what makes it really special. And that's what will allow you to make all these really cool activities for your kiddos, or for your kiddos to submit some really amazing things to you. So we're going to talk about some of those things. But like I said, it's the presentation app for iPad, or for your Mac if you happen to have a Mac computer. It's an easy thing to share with kids. We're going to talk about how you can share a keynote presentation later on. You can very easily add different types of media, such as drawings, photos, video, voice recordings, and you don't even have to have them saved on your computer already or on your iPad already. You can just do it in the moment. So that's what makes it really cool. And then, of course, you can use Keynote to do independent work. You can use it to make a game. You can use it to have kids publish something like a brochure, a book, a comic book. They can even use it to make like a little mini movie of some kind. So it's very, very versatile. Um, I'm hoping that you can take this away and think of other really amazing things that you can use it in your classroom with. And then, of course, if you are using iCloud, an added benefit about that is that you can collaborate on it, mostly with just your colleagues. You won't be able to do it with your kiddos because they can't get into iCloud, mostly because they cannot make an Apple ID. You can also use it to design your presentation on a computer versus the iPad. And I know for some people that might be a little bit more comfortable. Um, I like to have my big screen, my mouse, my keyboard, that sort of thing. So a lot of the presentations that I've made, I do the bulk of it on the PC, and then I send it to myself on my iPad, and then I just finish it up with all the fancy stuff on there. So that's another thing to keep in mind as well. So don't be afraid of using Keynote because you don't have the technology that you're used to using. There's a way to do everything, I promise. Okay. And so to start things off, I made a demo video for you of a game that I created myself. If you like the game, I did put a little download link. So you can go to iCloud and just download my file. You can have it, you can change it, you can share it with your colleagues, whatever you want to do with it. It's all yours. I promise it won't affect mine if you download it. And I did make a little video of it so you could see me demonstrating the game, because I thought me doing this live would be a little bit weird. If for whatever reason the video doesn't work right now, fingers crossed, I think it should, it's all linked on here. So if you want to show this later on to your colleagues, or you just want to watch it again because you want to see what I did, it's all in there. So I'm going to go ahead and press play. And again, if you have any questions, please type it in the chat. Welcome. My name's Annette Estival Perez, and I'm a program specialist in instructional systems right here in OCPS. I'm going to demonstrate a really easy game that I made using Keynote, which is a free presentation app on your iPad. So this particular game has a theme. It's a treasure hunt theme, maybe pirate themed, and we're going to practice using the phonemes p and ba. Okay, so some of the skills that we're learning are going to be to lock images, linking images, how to insert audio and pictures, and how to utilize those drawing tools in order to make a really easy and basic game. So I'm going to demonstrate these things. If you want additional details on how to do them, like a more specific guide, you can please check out my presentation. Okay, so this is the main slide. I just opened up my Keynote, and I'm going to click on the play button at the top. That'll put it in presentation mode. So one of the things I did add was some fun little animation. So anytime you see an image moving around, that's animation. Okay, and here's a little map. Now all of these images that are on here, I got them straight from Keynote. iPad has a great, I almost want to say warehouse, but a big collection of different objects and images that you could use. It's fantastic. You can flip them around, you can change the colors, you can resize them. Tons of great stuff. So I didn't have to leave the iPad to look for anything. So I added some animations, tried to get really fancy for you, added some footsteps. All right, but for this particular game, I made 3 activities. The first one is called P sounds. I'm going to click on that one. And this is really great if you have a question, um, like multiple choice type of questions, things like that. This style is fantastic. This is what you call linking images. So each one of these images is linked to another slide in the Keynote presentation. Okay, and this is definitely a skill that I learned when I was using PowerPoint and Google Slides. It's not anything new, but it's a really easy way to make a game. So for this particular game, they need to identify whether the word that's represented has a "p" in the initial or final position. So let's look at the first one. That looks like a stop sign. Stop ends with a "p." So let's see what happens. And yes, I got it right. I'm going to click on my little home button. Takes me back there. How about bear? Buh starts with a buh. Let's see what happens. Oh, I'm wrong. Okay, so super easy. I just had to make 3 slides for this one with the pictures, and then 2 other slides that told them if they were correct or incorrect. Okay, I'm gonna click back on my little map. Okay, and that's gonna take me right back to the beginning. My second activity, it says "p" and "b" word sort. And I kind of started this one already, but essentially I made a little ocean at the bottom. Okay, and I hid some pictures there. And that ocean, by the way, it's just 3 little pictures that I kind of locked together to make it look like an ocean. I think I looked for something that said wavy lines. Okay, and I'm going to hold this down so that I can get out of the presentation mode. There we go. And you click on a picture and drag it up. So I resized it. My upside down bicycle starts with a "b." I have a pig, "p." Okay, so again, you can't do the clicking and dragging in presentation mode, but it's really easy to get right out and just manipulate that. Okay, so I'm gonna get back in presentation mode, click on my little map. That's gonna take me back to the main page with the map. And our final activity is scratch off sounds. We're gonna use the drawing tool for this one. So the idea behind this is L. Conan boxes. Essentially, I created this page that has lots of different words and I segmented them. And over each segment, I hit it with a little square that I made out of the crayon drawing tool. And the point of this is that the student needs to sound out the word as they erase. Okay, so I can't do this from presentation, so I'm going to exit out. So usually the easiest way is to kind of double tap. Okay, come on, there we go. And plus sign, drawing. Okay, and this is my drawing toolbar. It's already on eraser, but if I wanted to draw, I could, select my drawing tool and I can choose colors and that sort of thing, but I'm going to use the eraser and we're going to sound out some words. So, p, ah, p, pop. Okay, same thing over here. Ah, p, mop. Okay, alternately, you could also have the students circle as opposed to erase, and they could use the drawing tools from this menu, or if you don't really want them to leave presentation mode, from presentation mode, if you hold, you get this funny looking little toolbar that appears at the bottom, has a laser pointer, but they also have a drawing tool as well here. So I can go pa, ah, pa, pop, sh, p, ship. Okay. Now, a lot of teachers that have viewed this presentation already, they ask me, oh, the sound isn't working on these little, buttons here. Well, those are actually placeholders. The instructions say record yourself saying each sound. So that's just really a reminder for the kids. And I will show you quickly how you can add sound, which is honestly one of my favorite features about Keynote. If you go to plus, you have this awesome menu of things that you can add. And it's really nice because you don't have to have things already saved. You can just do it in the moment, like record audio. So for record audio, if I click on that, I have that record thing at the bottom. I put it and I can record myself. So I can go, ah, p, mop. Okay. I can preview my file or I can just go ahead and insert it. So if I'm the student, once I have my little file, I can just put it right there. and I can review it myself, or if I'm the teacher, I can listen to the student and see whether or not they understood the concept of the Elkonin box and how to segment a word. Okay, so that was a really cool skill that showed you how to insert images, or in this case, audio, and how to use the drawing tool. And if you want more detailed instructions on how to do any of those skills, they're included in the presentation. Have a great day, and thanks for listening. Okay, everybody. So that was a short little game that I created using Keynote. And again, if you want a copy of the game so that you can edit it, do whatever you like to it, on this slide in the Google presentation that Jamelia linked in the chat, I have a link for you. You can just go to iCloud and just download it. And then you can use it on your iPad as well. Okay. I won't feel bad if you change my presentation. You want to change the phonemes to something else, totally fine with me. And again, if you want to show the video to somebody, everything's linked on here. So we're going to move on. Welcome. Wait, I hate that it wants to start the video. We're not starting the video. We're moving on. All right, so I know that we're going to get a lot of questions about certain things, so I'm going to front load some information for you. And one of the biggest questions that I often get from teachers is, okay, that's really cool, Annette, but how do I share this with my kids? So I have thought of a few scenarios that a lot of us will probably endure in the classroom. The first being whole group instruction. So I would highly recommend, whether you have face-to-face kids or you have kids that are at home doing launch ed, that you use Microsoft Teams to screen share what's going on your iPad. Yes, there's definitely some things out there that you can buy to do screen sharing, but this is probably the easiest, especially if you have kids that are at home, or you have like that combo. It's, it's going to make life pretty easy. And if you have never screen shared before to Microsoft Teams, or if you've never done it from your iPad, I did make a little guide. So if you click on that purple link, it's a one-page guide. You can print it. You can just look at it on the screen. But I took pictures of each step that I did. So if you're a visual person, I got you. And I also have written directions on there as well. But essentially, in order to do this whole group, and I'm actually going to have to do it later on because I am going to log into my iPad on Microsoft Teams and show you some things. What you're going to do is, I would recommend doing 2 devices. And the reason for that is you use your iPad to do the thing, whatever it is, whether it's you're looking at a website and you're annotating it on the iPad, or you're looking at a Keynote presentation, whatever you're doing, you log into Microsoft Teams with your iPad and screen share from there. But then you log in to Microsoft Teams from a second account, and then preferably it'll be like, the computer that's connected to your smartboard. That way you can project what's going on. So you can look at the chat, because sometimes that's kind of hard to do. It's hard to have multiple windows open on the iPad. Not that you can't do it, but it's a small screen to begin with, so it could be uncomfortable. But if you have that secondary device, you can use that second one to show on the smartboard, and you can look at the chat and answer questions and, kind of keep an eye on things. And then you have your iPad that you're walking around the room with, doing whatever it is the task is of that day. Okay, so that would be my recommendation for a whole group setting. If you're having the kids do something that's more independent, I would definitely recommend posting everything that you do, whether it's whole group or independent, onto Canvas. And the reason for that is because that's going to be accessible to your kids that are at home. It's going to also be accessible to the kids that are in your classroom. So both sets of kids. It's really easy to just create an assignment and then have them download it from that assignment. And then once they're done working on, whatever they're doing on Keynote or on any of the other apps that they might be using, then they can just upload it as well. And if you click on, again, that purple Canvas link that I have on my slide right now, that's going to show you a guide for, to do different things, like how to make an assignment, how to upload something from your iPad. I even have directions for parents listed on there. If you go all the way to the bottom, I have links for a English parent guide, and I have directions for a Spanish parent guide, which I translated myself. So I've also asked Multilingual to translate it into a couple of our other popular languages as well, because I know that sometimes that's a barrier for our families. So just be aware, Canvas, Microsoft Teams, those are my go-to apps for both sets of kiddos, because I know a lot of us are in a hybrid situation. Now, obviously, many of us might have a full face-to-face class. I know that, especially in elementary, a lot of you might be in that situation. If you do, you have the alternatives of using Apple Classroom and AirDrop. I have guides for that linked on there as well. Those, obviously, you need to have the kids in front of you. They need to be connected to the same Wi-Fi that you're on, and then you can kind of beam whatever it is that you want them to see to their device. So obviously that's awesome, but if the kid's at home, you wouldn't be able to do that. So I definitely would recommend the Canvas part, because that'll make life easier for everybody. And also, especially if they're going to turn it in as an assignment, it's just a great place to put things, because it's like your warehouse of everything that you've done for that year. Okay. And again, if I'm going too fast, if you need me to explain something, please, please, please put your question in the chat. If you'd like to turn on your microphone, I welcome you to do so. All of you should have privileges to do that as well. And of course, I'm going to also add that my presentation, you can do this independently. You can also refer to it later on. If you kind of click through it, you'll notice I have guides for all the stuff I'm going to show you. So if you prefer to work it more independently, that is totally fine with me. All of the resources are linked on there. I tried to make videos for everything that I've done, just so that people can reference it later on, or you can, of course, share with your colleagues, because I know that we might have a lot of coaches and media specialists on here that want to bring this back to school, but they're overwhelmed and they might not know how to do that. Or you might be a PLC leader and you want to bring it back to your team, but you don't have a lot of time to do that. So hopefully this will help out with that process. So this page, again, is additional resources that you might need. In our last breakout session, somebody asked, oh, are there any other templates out there that we could use to make a game or something like that? I actually created early on some templates with language arts ideas and some math ideas. So that is posted on here as well as a link to the game that I just demonstrated to everybody. And of course, anytime that I make something new, I'm putting it all in the Apple Resource course. It's a Canvas page. It's not a real course where you're going to take it and get a grade or anything like that. But it is a resource page. So if you actually sign up for it in the PD catalog, anytime I put something new, you'll get an alert, which is fantastic because I've been trying to add a lot of things, and so has Dan. And one other thing I wanted to mention to everybody, there is also this Apple Teacher Certification website. And I know that Dan led a PD about this a couple weeks ago, but it is open to all educators. And if you've never heard of it, I highly recommend at least logging in and making an account, because they have guides to everything that you can think of on the iPad. So I have learned a lot, even if you don't actually try to do the certificate and get all the cute badges and all that. They have a guide for everything, anything that you can think of. So that's something else to kind of be aware of. All right, and then finally, and I know I'm doing a lot of front loading, but I just want to make sure I get this out to you so you have all of your resources. If you need anything, if you forget everything you've learned today, all right, please reach out. I have Dan's contact information and I have my contact information on here. You can book an appointment with either of us. Obviously, Dan is excellent at coaching and teaching anything Apple related, but he is a former classroom teacher, just like myself. He has a literacy background. And so do I. I used to be a reading coach, and we are more than willing to help you out with lesson planning, helping out a whole PLC, working with a teacher one-to-one. If you need more specific information on things that are more on the OCPS side, like things on Canvas and Microsoft Teams, you might want to reach out to me because I can give you the official OCPS information. But either of us can probably point you in the right direction. So this is a very important slide. And thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate that. You are very, very kind. So we are going to move on. And finally, hopefully by the end of the session, you're going to be able to make a product, some sort of a game, or even just a very basic Keynote presentation using some of the skills that you've learned today. I know a lot of you are going to ask, how do I submit this thing to Canvas? And I know that if you're asking this, probably your kids are asking it too. So I do have a guide. Again, I know I say I have a lot of guides, but I really try for you guys. I'm so sorry. I made a guide on how to upload a file from your iPad, and I even made a video. The video is approximately 1 minute, I think, in 3 seconds. It is very short, very sweet. Now, if you're using something like iCloud, it's a little bit different because you have to download the file to your computer first and then upload it. Okay, so that's a 3-minute process according to my video. That's how long it took me to do everything. And that's because my internet was slow yesterday. So there's directions on how to do that here. I'm not going to go over that part because I think there's a lot of variety in this room. But if you need me to at the end of the session, I will, because we will have like a good chunk of time where you're just going to work on your project. Ooh. And to download a file that you created in iCloud and then upload it to Keynote. There we go. It wanted to play the videos. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so the next portion of our presentation, we're going to talk about some of the skills that I use to make my game. And I'm going to take a sip of water because I'm losing my voice. But again, if you have a question, please put it in the chat. And I'm going to be connecting my iPad in order to do this. So give me a minute. I'm going to put myself on mute. Okay, so I think all of you should be able to see my iPad screen. All I did was log in on my iPad, which is right next to me, and I clicked on Start Broadcast and Share. So I should be presenting. I see all of you guys on the screen, so that looks like it's working. And I'm going to walk you through the steps of just how to make a Keynote presentation. So for most of you, you're going to have Keynote hiding in a little folder. My folder, for whatever reason, is called Productivity. I think somebody else told me earlier that for the teachers, it says Create. So if you can't find Keynote loose on the main screen, it's going to probably hide out in a folder with all of the other Apple apps. So I'm going to click on Keynote. This is the one I made for the previous presentation, so we want to get out of this. Okay, this is all my old files. I'm going to make a brand new one, so I'm going to click on the plus sign. I'm going to choose a theme. And of course, there's tons of different themes that you can choose. I'm going to go very basic. I'm going to choose a basic white template. Okay, and to get us started, I'm just going to add a bunch of blank slides. And I'm probably going to do 5 or 6 on here. So again, if you have your iPad, if you're using iCloud because you don't have an iPad with you, you're going to probably want to do the same thing. You could probably just listen to my voice. I'm going to try to be as descriptive as possible to help people out that don't want to navigate to multiple screens. I know that that can be a little bit annoying. Okay, but I'm going to start you off with the most popular, easiest skill, which is media stuff. So inserting pictures, sound, all the cool stuff that you'll probably want to have in a game or some sort of activity that you're making. So this is my favorite menu, the plus sign menu, and it's to add stuff. So we're going to look at adding essentially clip art or images. What I really like about Keynote and Pages, that's the other default app for Apple, is that they have this nice little warehouse of clip art. And I remember millions of years ago when I used to use PowerPoint all the time, they had clip art like this. And I feel like it's gone away. Now everything is web-based, and sometimes that's not what you want. These are all vector images. So what that means is that it's a shape like this that can be stretched, it can be manipulated, and it's not going to change the quality of the image. So that turkey is always going to look like that. It's never going to look blurry. So it'll be really, really nice. So I have a turkey and I have a rabbit, and I'm going to click on my turkey. You can actually edit these images as well. And I'm going to go to the paintbrush. You can change the colors. Okay, rabbit, we'll make him pink. The other thing you can do, obviously, is add text to it. Let me actually click on an image. So again, everything's under that paintbrush menu. You can change the text, the size. You can also change the arrangement of it. So if I wanted to flip the image, you can do that as well. Obviously, a lot of people have asked me this as well. Can I copy and paste something from the internet? Yes, 100% yes. So earlier I Googled the word dogs. I found this cute picture of a Pomeranian or two Pomeranians. I think those are Pomeranians. I don't know what they are. Fluffy dogs. And then you can paste it right back in your Keynote. Okay, so I'm going to just tap on my blank space, and in the menu I have the paste feature. And again, you can resize that. There's no guarantees how good it's going to look depending how big you stretch it. But that's the nature of copying, pasting off the internet. And you can do things like flipping it around, stuff like that, but there's really nothing to change color. You can't edit it too much. So things are a little limited there. All right, so the other features that you have as far as that plus menu is concerned, you can add other types of media. So in the video, you saw me adding sound. That's not going to work very well for me right now because I decided to disable the microphone since I was going to be on Microsoft Teams. I didn't want to have feedback since I'm on 2 microphones. So recording audio is not going to work as well. I can turn it on, but it's not going to record anything. But that's where the button is. It's in the plus sign menu. But you can also add pictures, which is fantastic. So you can add a picture that's saved already on your device, or my favorite thing is if you click on camera, you can actually take a picture of something in the room right here in the moment. So that's my keyboard. I'm going to snap a picture. I'm going to use this photo, and there it is. That's the picture. So what I really like about that is, I can already think of a few different ideas for that. Is let's say you want the kids to do some sort of like a treasure hunt or a scavenger hunt activity. They can go around the room and take pictures of items. A lovely teacher in the previous session, she mentioned that she would probably use that for a math activity. They can go around and take pictures of different shapes in the classroom. So I would assume if you want them to come up with examples of circles, squares, rectangles, they could do that and they could post that into their Keynote presentation. So I really love that. For science, they can take pictures of different facts that are around them. You can have them do things for language arts to represent vocabulary words. So possibilities are endless. If you can think of a fun activity with either the picture or with the sound, please type it in the chat. Give us some inspiration. Okay, I know that I'm very guilty of only giving literacy activities, but that tends to be my background. I'm trying to stretch my mind and think of more math stuff because that's the subject I fear most. But I think I can handle kindergarten and first grade math, so I'm okay with that. And I have an 8-year-old, so we just have to deal with kindergarten and first grade math. But again, if you have an idea for a fun activity that you can use with some of the media features in Keynote, please, please, please put it in the chat. And do not forget, I have Jolly Ranchers to courier to you if you ask a question or you post something in the chat. So come on, guys, give me some ideas. All right, so I'm going to show you some other fun features. That was the media feature. We have also one last tool in that plus sign menu that I thought would be kind of fun to show everyone, and that's the drawing tool. Definitely you saw me using that with the L. Conan boxes in the video. This is really cool for annotating a text, for circling items. I know that in the classroom we might use chips, like to manipulatives, that sort of thing. The drawing tool might be a good alternative for that. You could use it to highlight text, annotate on top of a text, circle a picture. I mean, really the possibilities are endless. Matching activity, I could kind of see that working out pretty well. Ooh, Shireen, she says, I like the game board, and when they land on it, it will take them to a question. Oh, I can show you how. That's going to be our next thing that we're going to do. So that's a really, really, really fun activity. I think one of the other presenters did something similar to that in probably Google Slides. That is very possible to do in Keynote as well. And of course, that's what the kids have. They have these iPads in front of them. So it's good to use the stuff that it comes with. All right, so the next thing I'm going to show you is something called linking. I'm going to just use the same slide. I'm probably going to delete some of these pictures. So I got to exit out of my drawing menu. I just pressed done in the corner. And I'm going to delete my keyboard. We'll leave the Pomeranians there. And I'm going to add some instructions at the top of this page. And I'm going to do that by just making a little shape at the top and just typing on it. So click on the duh sound. Okay, so those are my very basic directions. Okay, so what we're going to do with linking is whenever the kids click on one of these items, it will take them to another page. So like Shireen was saying, and Shireen, I'm going to send you a candy, by the way. I'm going to write down your name before I forget. You can use this for multiple choice questions. You can use this for a board game, like she was saying. You can use it like in a Jeopardy game. I know a lot of us probably have seen like a Jeopardy PowerPoint out there. This is the same exact concept. Okay, so it's very, very easy to do and it's been around for a while. This is a thing that's existed on every presentation software. So to prepare for that, I am going to make, I love your gift. I'm going to make a slide that represents no. So if they get the question wrong, it's going to take them to that slide. So I'm looking for like a stop sign. And obviously you can choose something much more beautiful than what I'm going with here, but this is what we're doing in our very quick presentation. And I'm going to do a check mark to represent that they got it right. Okay, super basic. Okay, so I have those two slides and I have my original slide. This is going to be the question page or the landing page or the home page, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so turkey, does it start with a duh sound? It does not. So when I click on the picture, there's the word link. I'm going to click on link and I'm going to tell it what slide to go to. Now, obviously this is the wrong answer, so I'm going to send it to the wrong answer page. Okay, rabbit does not start with a duh sound, so we're going to link it to also slide number 3, which is the you got it wrong slide. All right, and dog does start with a duh sound. We're going to link it to slide number 4, which is the you got it correct slide. So now everything's linked. It has a little blue arrow at the bottom. That's how I can tell. If I put it in presentation mode and I click on it, it'll take me to the, hopefully the correct response. So turkey, oh, I got it wrong. Rabbit, I got it wrong. Dog, I got it right. Okay. Now, alternatively, you can also add a little button in the corner, you know, right here on the bottom corner of the page. Come on, menu. Ah, there we go. On the bottom corner of the page, so that way it'll always take you back to the question page. So if you looked at my demo, I think I had like either a picture of a home or a picture of a map, depending on what slide they were on, and that would take them back to that original page or whatever activity they were doing. Especially if you have a lot of different activities or different slides going on here, you might want to have that just to make it easier to use. So again, this is great for multiple choice things, board games, Jeopardy. If you can think of a different example, please pop it into the chat. Immediately I'm thinking of like a map, you know, maybe a notebook of some kind, like an interactive notebook, a table of contents. Okay, I'm trying to stretch my mind here, but if you think of something fun, put it in the chat. Shireen already got some or is getting Jolly Ranchers couriered to her. I don't think that's a real word, but I've invented it today. So if you'd like some Jolly Ranchers, post an idea in the chat. Thank you guys so much. All right, so one of the next skills I'm going to show you, the last two are very much related to each other, and we're doing on time. We still have about 20 minutes, I believe. Okay, I'm going to add what am I adding? A tree. I keep using the tree, but I think it's because it's the cutest visually. All right, so putting a tree, putting an animal that will fly into the tree, and I'm putting an animal that is already in my tree, so an owl. Whoa, That is a very large owl. So owl is in the tree. We're going to change color for him so that we can see him. Okay, bird, we'll make him blue. Okay, so bird is over there. Owl's in the very tiny tree. We'll make it bigger. We are going to essentially group these two images together. And it takes a little bit of finesse. You're going to want to click on both images with your two fingers. If you're using iCloud or a keyboard or anything, you can, I believe it's the control button or the shift key to click on multiple things at the same time. I always forget, but here we go. I was able to get both. Okay, so again, two fingers and try tapping on both images at the same time, and then you'll get a menu pop up and you want the word group. Once I've clicked on that, now I can move my tree around and the owl is attached to it. Okay, and by the way, is my screen still sharing? Because I feel like it's disappeared from my monitor.
I do not see your screen anymore, Annette.
Oh, okay. I think that just happened, right? I think I might have accidentally tapped on Microsoft Teams. I apologize, everybody. And again, if you have a question, please put it in the chat. Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate that. It's not just you, it's me too. All right. But you know, that's reality. I'm not gonna lie to you. Join. I'm gonna join again. There we go. And I'm gonna screen share again. So it's just giving it, it's on a little bit of a lag for me. Ooh. Dan, you might have to take over because it does not want to connect for me. I don't know.
All right, hang on one moment.
You might want to show your iPad. And I know I'm putting you on the spot there. Start. I wonder if it's just that our Wi-Fi is down. Oh, okay, it's connected, guys. Sorry.
All right, I was all set to share, but it looks like you got it.
Alternatively, there is a video of me doing this exact same thing already linked in that presentation. You know, if you really want to see it later, it's there. I'm so sorry, everyone. Okay, so we're going to go back to my Keynote presentation. And all right, earlier I added an owl to a tree. I touched both images with two fingers. I grouped them. Now that they're grouped, they move around together. This one over here is not grouped with anything, so it can move around by itself. The other cool thing I'm going to show you is locking an activity or locking a image. Now, the reason you may want to use this, it is a good idea, especially if you're going to share a presentation with students that they're going to move around, they're going to manipulate it, they're going to do something to it. If you lock your images, if you group your images, they are less likely to move things out of place that you don't want them to move out of place. So like things like a game board with pieces on it or something like that, or maybe a graphic organizer that you're going to put on here, there might be certain elements you don't want them to move around. So that's why you're going to want to use grouping, or in this case, locking. So the other thing we're going to do is lock. So I'm going to click on my image. We're going to go to edit, which is that paintbrush. And then we have the word lock. Okay. And then now when I touch my image, I'm trying to move it with my finger. It doesn't budge. It doesn't go anywhere. So I have essentially locked it. Okay. So the other thing I'm going to show you, and this is the penultimate skill I'm going to show you. That's my SAT word, the second to last skill. And that is adding an animation. So this does look a little bit different. If you're using iCloud, I think you have to right click on the image. But if you're on the iPad, if you click on it, you do have the word animate. Okay. And you have 3 menus that appear at the bottom in a little bar or banner. Okay. And 2 of them are, you know, basic animations that I'm sure you've seen in like a PowerPoint or something. It makes things appear, makes things disappear, stuff like that. But if you go to the center menu where it says add action, they have a fun one that I don't think I've seen anywhere else, and that's called create a path. So if I click on that, I can make a path for my little blue bird going to the tree, and there's a preview. So this is really, really nice for, making a miniature movie, adding some fun graphics to your presentation. It just looks really good. I'm not going to lie to you, your coworkers, your kids will be very impressed if you incorporate that. So, and it does look nice, and I'll show you what it looks like in presentation mode. Bird flies around. Now it looks a little choppy on the screen, I'm not going to lie to you, but it looks much better on the iPad. But I think it's our internet. It's starting to slow down. All right, so the last thing I'm going to show you is how to change your background image on here. I particularly like this. I know that Shireen earlier said that she'd like to use something like a board game. If you have a lot of graphic organizers that you like to use, things of that nature, this is also a really cool feature. If you want to do a really neat background image, to set a theme or a tone for something, this is a great feature. You're going to want to go to your slide, preferably when there's nothing on it so you can see what it looks like. You're going to click on the paintbrush, and you have an option to change your background. Okay, so if I click there, you can change the color of your background. I can choose any color I want. Okay, but I can also put an image in my background. I'm going to choose a photo that I have previously saved, and yesterday I was looking up game boards because I knew that someone might think of that. Here's one. Okay, this is just a simple, like a black line master. I found it online. It's like, I think a thumbnail or something. It wasn't even a full-size image. Right now it's set to fit the whole thing, but you can change just to make it, ooh, that one looked weird. Okay, so you might want to find the option that works best for the picture that you've chosen. And again, this can be from a picture that you find online. It could be a picture that you took with the camera on the iPad. A lot of different options on there. If you have a nice PDF of something, you can take a picture, or like a screenshot of your PDF, and make it the background on here as well. So that might be cool if you have a graphic organizer that you'd like to use that the kids can write on, or a bingo or a tic-tac-toe or something that you've done before that you'd like to put into your Keynote. Okay, so I'm going to disconnect my iPad, and if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. I'd love to hear some ideas. Would definitely love to hear some ideas of what you're thinking about trying to make. And if you have any questions about something, if you want me to show you a feature, if you want Dan to answer something, just type it in the chat. You can even use the microphone and just ask. And if you ask a fun question, I can send you some candy. I'm hoping to lure you in with the candy. Jennifer, you're going to get some candy. So she's saying sound in K in science right now. So matching pictures with sounds. I love that idea. Jennifer, can you get on the microphone and kind of elaborate a little bit, like what that might look like? She's like, pretty much like yours, just change the content.
Yeah, but I went in yesterday or the other day into a kindergarten class, and they were doing it whole group, and it was I think an intro to sound, and it was fun and it was great, but it was of course whole group, and it was you couldn't monitor. So this could be the next piece. You could monitor your kids, and they could do it individually through Canvas.
I love it. I love it. And again, if anyone needs instructions for how to add something to Canvas, that is linked on the presentation, and we'll put the link again in here. But that's a great idea. That's really great. So instead of making it a whole group, you can make it independent with the kids.
Yeah, it was because it was chaotic. I mean, they were excited. It was fun. It was chaotic, but now, and this could just be a next piece. Thank you. Your directions are great.
Oh, thanks, Jennifer. But yeah, and it could be independent, or it could even be like a small group of kids. I could totally see that working out really well. So instead of them having to all share the smartboard, it could be a group of 3 or 4 and they're looking at their own iPads but working as a group. That's a really good suggestion. I love it. All right. Does anyone have any other ideas or questions? I still got some Jolly Ranchers I can send your way. And out of curiosity, how many teachers do we have in this particular session? If you want to put your hand up, if you're a teacher, because I'm assuming if you don't put your hand up, you're something else. You're a coach or a media specialist. So how many teachers do we have in our presentation? If you don't mind raising your hand, you just click on the hands up sign at the top. All right, so we have 3. Only 3 teachers? Everybody else is a media specialist or a coach? There's 4. Okay, there's 4 of you. Well, my teachers, you got any ideas for us? How do you think you could use this? How can you use Keynote in your classroom? You can use the mic, you can type it. It doesn't have to be a complete idea. We can piggyback on you.
Annette, I'll jump in just to throw out an idea that I've seen other people experiment with, if that's okay.
Go for it, Dan.
Sure. So I put this in the chat too, and I've been pasting some other ideas that I've gotten from the Learning Center also. But one of the cool things is you have a camera. It's built right into the iPad. So what I've seen students do and teachers lead this lesson is they take a picture of anything. It could be an object around the classroom. It could be around their house. It could be like a pair of scissors or something. You take 2 pictures of 2 different objects, and then you can animate those in using that create path feature, because you did it with a shape, but you can do it with anything. You can do it with a picture. So what they do is they sort of like anthropomorphize objects that they take a picture of, and they create a story, like make action and a scene, and they can kind of narrate with the record feature, with the voice recording. So they basically make an animation studio out of the little Keynote slide and put in all those different types of media at the same time. So simple project, but it's really the breadth of what they can do with it is really open to a lot of different.
That is awesome. And then Samantha put in a comment. She has a great idea. We can make a choose your own adventure, just like they showed us in the other breakout sessions. But obviously you can apply those skills and put it into a Keynote presentation. It's the same thing. The only difference is you have all these extra cool add-ins that the iPad offers that Google Slides does not. Okay, so take advantage of that. So yeah, you can make a choose your own adventure. And you know what, Samantha? I'm sending you candy. Thank you for making that suggestion. All right, folks, we have 5 more minutes together. Eid Malis, thank you. Storytelling, I love it. Do you want to get on the microphone and maybe elaborate a little bit, like how we could use it for storytelling? I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you could, that'd be nice. Imalis is a little bit shy. It's okay. I hope I got your name right, by the way. I know I sound funny with my mask. But Imalis, I'm going to send you some Jolly Ranchers as well. I'm just making sure I'm writing everybody's name correctly so I can look you up later. All right. Any other ideas? Any other questions? I do like the idea of storytelling. I think in my brain, we used to do something in my classroom, like make a little, almost kind of like a trailer for a book. You guys remember Mr. Movie Phone? I know that I'm like, that's like really dating me, but you know, I used to call like 1-800-movie or whatever, and Mr. Movie Phone would talk to you and tell you about the movie. Anyway, I used to make my kids make a little trailer, and this was before we even had computers in the classroom, but we would do that, and they'd figure out a way to record themselves. But you could do something like that and put it into the Keynote. They could probably draw pictures of a book that they just read. They could make a book because we have all those cool pictures that they can put in. So storytelling, I would assume something would look something like that. All right, and Sarah, you put a comment. It says, I'd like to take centers that I have used previously and try to digitize them, such as CVC, spelling, or sight word practice. So CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant, spelling, or sight word practice. So yes, this is like personal experience. When my son was in kindergarten, I used to make, and I'm like an overachiever, I'm sorry. When he was in pre-K and when he was in kindergarten, I used to make him sight words in a Google Slides presentation. I would totally do that if he had an iPad and we had Keynote and just put it on there. You could even make it fun and put little pictures and things like that. Or I'd make him record himself saying the sight word. So I would totally do that. And Sarah, you're getting candy for that. Thank you. But yeah, I know that that would have been a big station for him at his age when he was in kindergarten. I'm positive that that's what they were doing in the classroom. You know, one station of sight words, one station where they're manipulating something, maybe with letter magnets, things like that. You could totally do that on a Keynote presentation. And Samantha's asking, can we share things that we make to other teachers? How would we do that on the iPads? Yes, so actually I'm gonna see if I connect. Do we have time? We have 2 minutes. If I can quickly show you my iPad screen, whenever you're looking at a file on Keynote or anything that's on your iPad, you have a button at the top that's called a sharrow. I don't know if that's the official word, but that's the word I've heard Dan use. It's an arrow with a box attached to it. If you click on it, you have the option of essentially emailing yourself the file. You can airdrop the file to somebody. So if you want to share it with another teacher, you could just email it to them and then they can open it. Obviously, if it's a Keynote or Pages file, it'll only open nicely on the iPad. So that's probably where the person would want to download it. But it is definitely a possibility. So I am going to show you, I'm like looking at so many screens, I'm confusing myself. Okay, so Keynote, that's what we were just on. In the 3-dot menu at the top, you see the word share. If I click on that, I have all sorts of sharing options. So yeah, I can post it directly to Canvas from here. You just need to have logged into the Canvas app at some point on the device. If you guys are all in front of me, I could just send it out to your iPad directly. Like if we were in the same area, I could airdrop it to you. And then I could also email it to you as well. And yes, you could also put it on Google Drive, although someone did that yesterday and it looked a little funky. So I don't know if I was doing something wrong. I didn't know how to download it or something. I could see it. It just didn't look right. So I'd probably stick to Canvas or just email, or of course airdrop. Okay. And that's an excellent question, Sarah. Thank you so much for asking. I'm sure a lot of people were wondering about that. And Samantha, what is the best way to share to the students through the share and then Canvas? So we did mention that earlier. If you're going to do something whole group and it's just to practice, it's not an assignment, I think something like what we were doing today with Microsoft Teams connecting is going to be great. The other alternative would be Canvas. If you post your assignment on Canvas, they could just download the file there, work on it. You know, maybe they have to annotate a text. Maybe they're doing something on the Keynote, you know, like an activity of some kind, recording their voice, taking pictures, whatever. And then when they're done with it, then they can upload it to the assignment on Canvas. So that would be 2 methods, depending on what you want to do. If it's just a whole group practice activity, you could just do Microsoft Teams, you know, just so that everyone can see it. Or if you want everyone to be able to use it, download it, work on it independently, If you also want to use it whole group, I would just post it on Canvas. In fact, I would recommend always posting things on Canvas because you never know. Technology could go crazy that day. And if they download it from Canvas, at least they have their own copy. And then they can work on it offline too. They don't need the internet just to work on Keynote. They will need it to upload later. All right, folks, it is 11:36. I got carried away with my last question. It is time to go back, I believe, to your main room. So whoever you started with, if you had Courtney and Margie, if you had Nancy and Nicole, if you had Clint and Claire, whoever you had, you're going to go back to your home zone. I believe they have a quick debrief activity, and then we go to lunch, which is good because I know everyone's hungry. Okay. And it was such a pleasure being with all of you today. This was awesome. And again, if you have any questions at all, please, please, please reach out to Dan or to myself. We are here for you guys with whatever you need. I'm going to put our contact information right there on the screen. It's in the PowerPoint or in the Google Slides presentation that we linked earlier. Everything's linked on there, and it's also on the discussion board on Canvas as well. So in the discussion board, this presentation's linked with all my stuff, everything that I made for you. Okay. So thank you so much. And my candy people, expect something from me in the next couple days, okay? I appreciate all of you for asking your questions. Oh, I love this dancing, Sheree.